This is Stonehenge as we see it today, on a plain of chalky grass, farmers' fields and small shallow woods. But it hasn't always looked like this in the past. 10,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the rivers, such as the Avon, were overflowing from the meltwater of the ice sheet that laid over Britain for 30,000 years, and the old dry river valleys such as Stonehenge Bottom were active rivers again. Moreover, a thick and lush pine forest covered the entire land. Within this environment, the first phase of Stonehenge was built. First the moat that surrounds the site, and then 56 blue stones from a quarry now identified as Craig Rosevelling, was constructed inside the Stonehenge moat. Because of man-made hearths left at the quarry site, we can now for the first time date the first phase of Stonehenge, which is between 8,850 to 8330 BCE. Some 5,000 years before the date quoted by most archaeologists. They suggest that because Stonehenge does not have similar carbon dates on site, that they are incidental. But that is not true. If we return to when the visitors' centre at Stonehenge was by the monument, and look at the old car park, we find something quite amazing. On the shoreline of the old Holocene Avon River, we find 3 large white circles on the tarmac of the car park. These circles are the exact position of the oldest evidence of human existence at Stonehenge. The experts would have you believe that these post holes were not associated with Stonehenge and are randomly constructed totem poles, as their dates do not match the current estimations by archaeologists. What we now see from the carbon dating is that not only the oldest hearth at the quarry matches post hole A at Stonehenge, but the other hearths at the quarry also match post holes B and D. This is a mathematical improbability unless both sites were connected in some form. But the most compelling and absolute evidence for the construction date of Phase 1 of Stonehenge can be seen in pothole E, known as Pit 9580 by archaeologists, where we find not just one carbon-dated correlation with the quarry, but 3 dates. Moreover, 20 centimeters down this same pit we find a piece of rhyolite, commonly known as blue stone, and the date of this deposit can be estimated by the soil layer it was sitting upon. 7,560 to 7335 BCE, overlapping with the date of hearth number 3 found at the quarry site. The question archaeologists refuse or find impossible to answer is, how could a piece of blue stone, used in the construction of the monument, which came from a quarry over 200 miles away, get into a pit at Stonehenge, 5,000 years before it was supposedly built? These posts were placed at the edge of the Mesolithic waters, to unload the boats loaded with blue stones, as the raised waters of the Holocene period would have also flooded the quarry site at Craig Rosevelling. This has been confirmed by archaeologists, who have found high levels of alluvium silt within the excavations. This same silt also exists in the post holes of Stonehenge, indicating the edges of the river levels during this time period. Moreover, showing the obvious method of transportation from the shoreline of the quarry, 200 miles away, to the Mesolithic shoreline of Stonehenge. For this was a boat using civilization, and not the hunter-gatherers, as past archaeologists had previously imagined, hunting with spears over grassy plains. Which gives us a clue to the second phase of Stonehenge, with the erection and construction of the gigantic sarsen stones, and the need for even larger boats. 4,000 years after Phase 1 of Stonehenge was first completed, the Avon water levels had dropped to such an extent that its original purpose and function contained within the moat became obsolete. This civilization then embarked in changing the site's purpose, and therefore transported the gigantic sarsen stones from a location just 20 miles away at West Woods, by the River Avon, to the site again by boat. If we look down on Stonehenge from the air, it becomes clear the new location of the mooring site and how they were transported to the monument. In the landscape, you can see 2 parallel ditches 12 meters wide, leading from the moat at Stonehenge to a landing point archaeologists call Stonehenge Bottom. This is the lowest point in the landscape, and therefore would have had the deepest water level in the early Neolithic period. This is Britain's first road and would have been used to transport the large sarsen stones from the boats moored at Stonehenge Bottom to the main site. The feature is called the Avenue, and it has always been a mystery to archaeologists why the road, with ditches, ends so abruptly, and without reason. We now can see it is because it met the River Avon during the Phase II construction period. Once the Avon had completely retreated in the Bronze Age, a more simple footpath, without the ditches, continued across the landscape, to again end at the Avon, as was its original purpose. In a detailed magnetometer survey of the avenue in 1990, 14 post holes were discovered located inside the avenue. Just like Phase I, the post holes supported wooden uprights in pairs, allowing them to be used as prehistoric cranes, with the ability to move heavy stones from boats to carts, sitting on the avenue. Archaeologists have identified and excavated part of the Newell's Mound, which is made from clay and flint, and is therefore man-made. But the second unnamed mound, which is clearly identified on the contour maps, like the 14 post holes, are unexcavated and so we have no dates of construction. Fortunately, as most observers know, the avenue was constructed in an alignment to the summer solstice sunrise. We can therefore measure the alignment and discover the exact date of construction, as the sun moves 1 degree along the horizon, every 5,000 years. Currently the sun rises 1.2 degrees from the center of the avenue. This shows us that the avenue and Phase II of the Stonehenge monument was started 6,000 years ago, and not the 4,500 years ago, the archaeologists currently believe. This date can be confirmed by carbon dating with the packing foundations of Stone 27. Atkinson, who led the excavation around the base of the stone, was very keen to have this piece of antler bone carbon dated on the grounds that it was the first find in situ that could give them their best date of construction. But the date was so not what they wanted that it was disregarded, although it fits the solar alignment of the avenue. To date, archaeologists have still to fully explain how a piece of undegraded animal bone, which was supposedly at the time 1,700 years old, got to be used to wedge a gigantic standing stone into position. This scientific evidence now allows us to predict the date of Stonehenge Phase II as 4200 BCE, 1,700 years earlier than the current hypothesis, and consequently the rewriting of our history.
Detailed analysis and scientific references to this video can be found in Robert John Langdon's epic trilogy, Prehistoric Britain, now available on Amazon.